morning. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela and we are the Castros. Okay, may mga ilang suspensions of classes na rin na inulat yesterday dahil nga dito sa Bagyong Nika. Ay, maingay siya.
All over Metro Manila and
Yes.
different parts of Luzon as well dahil sa Bagyong Nika nga. Sa Metro Manila, as of now, it's signal number 1. In other places, sa bandang
In Isabela,
north,
my gosh,
mas
malakas na yung hangin doon. Nakita ko na si Mon Gualvez nag-report doon.
It doesn't end there. May mga binamataan pa tayo dalawang bagyo na kasunod daw nitong Nika. But before we move on, syempre, thank you sa House of Puto Bao for sending over this very yummy. Ang ganda ng packaging.
Oo, nandiyan yan sa loob kanina.
Puto Bao pa yan.
Natin
Mga kakaninang specialty nila.
Pero ito, ano to?
Parang, I don't know, parang puto bongbong siya na may, tawag doon? May coconut sa loob. Sarap siya.
Tapos may sauce, no?
May ube sauce siya. So, nakakain ako isa. So, House of Puto Bao. Thank you for sending this over. Mga specialty po nila, mga kakanin.
Yan
so
ang brunch natin.
You can check them
today.
out. Alright, we're serving you news in a countdown.
All that before your second cup of coffee. This is brunch.
Starting our countdown with some international news, Canada is now on high alert for the possible influx of migrants fleeing from the U.S. This as U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is expected to implement a large mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Canada's National Police Service said they expect Trump's stance on immigration will drive up illegal and irregular migration to Canada. During Trump's first presidential term from 2017 to 2021, thousands of migrants stripped of U.S. protections fled north.
Actually, the last time din, during the first, Trump administration, ganun din yung ginawa nila eh. Medyo naghigpit din sila ng border nila. And they're also advising everyone dahil itong time na to, sinasabi nila, winter is approaching. So, yung mga past instances before na mga influx nga ng mga illegal migrants, sabi nila, ay nagkakaroon ng mga insidente ng frostbite, hypothermia, at saka even yun nga mga fatalities.
Oo nga.
Ay, akala ko may sasabihin ka pa sa akin.
If you read the manifest, basta yung may mga referral countries supposedly for those in a caravan. Kasi in order to reach the border illegally sa US, may caravan ka at may dadaanan ka mga ibang area. So other countries na dadaanan nila are told already na kung pwede, ipigilan na yung caravan so that they can just take them in. It's because the US plans to ramp up the migration of legal immigrants. In other words, yung mga processes pala magsisimula sa kanyang country of origin and they will remove illegal immigrants so they could stimulate talagang legal, more citizens that could contribute daw.
And this time pa naman, sabi pa naman ng Canada, ito pa rin yung time na they're also reducing their own immigration na targets.
Actually,
kasi to manage daw their population, parang daw mas ma-focus nila yung pagpapalakas ng infrastructure nila and social services.
Mahigpit din ang border ng Canada. Mas mahigpit nga, even before Trump, mas mahigpit sila sa US in Canada. And also other EU countries, they're also tightening their borders.
Right.
So,
And they also noticed, nung nanalo nga daw si US President-elect Donald Trump, yung mga searches on how to migrate to Canada, mga ganyan, medyo tumaas daw. Oo, yung mga online searches nakita nila.
Pwede naman daw mag-migrate pa sa US, sabi ni President-elect Donald Trump. Basta do it legally. Huwag yung mag-apply ka ng tourist visa, tapos papasok ka doon.
Yun nga daw yung TNT.
TNT, mawawala ka. Not only sa Filipinos, but yung mga other nationalities as well. Diba? Go there legally. Yun lang naman, dumaan sa process.
Alright, let's continue with our countdown. On our top 9 is Mount Canlaon. The volcano in Negros Island continues to show signs of unrest. On Sunday, Canlaon emitted a 1,000-meter tall plume with intermittent ash. 11 volcanic earthquakes were also recorded, while the volcano's edifice remained inflated. Alert level 2 is currently raised at Canlaon volcano due to an increased unrest. That's why pa rin ang advice dun sa mga residente dyan na umaabot pa rin yung usok sa kanila ay lalo na yung mga senior citizens, yung mga kabataan ay kung wala naman daw gagawin na sa labas, sa loob na lang sila ng bahay. And wear yung mask, no? N95, di ba? Yan yung mabuti para sa mga usok.
Yung mas mahal na klaseng mask yun, N95. Kasi hindi sufficient yung regular, yung mask na sinusuot natin pag nung COVID.
Oo. So alert level 2 sila ngayon. Okay, alright,
move on
let's
to the
continue
next.
with our countdown.
Placing in the 8th spot is the aftermath of Typhoon Marce. One person was reported dead after Marce left the country. Based on the latest report of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council, one individual was injured by the storm and one is still missing. Over 100,000 families or 370,000 individuals are still affected by Marce's impact. The estimated cost of damaged infrastructure is pegged at 25 million pesos. Meanwhile, the estimated cost of damaged agriculture is estimated at 16 million pesos. Now let's get the latest on Typhoon Nika.
We have Pag-asa weather forecaster Chanel Dominguez on the line. Good morning, Chanel. Thanks for joining us again today.
Magandang umaga din po sa inyo at magandang umaga din po sa mga tagapakinig po natin. So, update po muna tayo dito po sa bagyong Sinika. At kanina pong 8:10 a.m. ay tuluyan na po itong naglandfall dito sa may Dilasag, Aurora. May taglay na rin po tayong lakas ng hangin na 130 kilometers per hour at pagbugso na 180 kilometers per hour. Ito'y kumikilos west-northwestward sa bilis na 15 kilometers per hour. Dahil po dito, meron tayong tropical cyclone wind signal number 4 dito sa northern portion ng Aurora, central at southern portion ng Isabela, Kalinga, Mountain Province, northern portion ng Ifugao, central and southern portion ng Abra, northern at central portion ng Ilocos Sur. Signal number 3 naman dito sa central portion ng Aurora, nalalabing bahagi ng Apayao, northern portion ng Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, rest of Isabela, southwestern portion ng Cagayan, rest ng Abra, northern portion ng Benguet at southern portion ng Ilocos Norte. Signal number 2 dito sa northwestern portion ng eastern portion ng Cagayan, rest of Nueva Vizcaya, rest of Quirino, rest of Benguet, rest of Ilocos Norte, La Union, northeastern portion ng Pangasinan at northern portion ng Nueva Ecija. Signal number 1 naman po dito sa may Babuyan Islands, the rest of mainland Cagayan, rest of Pangasinan, rest of Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Bulacan, Tarlac, northern at central portion ng Zambales, Metro Manila, Rizal, eastern portion ng Laguna, northern at eastern portion ng Quezon, at kasama na ang Pulilio Islands at northwestern portion ng Camarines Norte. So nakikita po natin yung forecast track po natin dito kay Nika, ay possible po lumabas ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility bukas po ng umaga or ng hapon. At ito po ay possible mag-weaken into a severe tropical storm dahil po sa pagtawid niya dito sa ating kalupaan. Yan po muna latest dito sa Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. Chanel Dominguez po, magandang umaga.
Chanel, sige, go ahead.
Chanel, given na sinabi mo paalis ito tomorrow, so for today, do we expect the impact of this typhoon to weaken across Luzon?
Yes po, makikita po natin, patawid na rin po siya ng kalupaan. Kung nagkakaroon po tayo ng pagtawid sa kalupaan, ay ito po ay nagkakos din po ng paghina ng isang bagyo. So inaasahan din po natin, ihina din po ito.
Over the weekend, may nakita po ko ilang sa mga announcement po, no, bulletin, weather bulletin ng Pag-asa, at nakalagay po doon, may mga possible storm surge. Yun po ba ay ganun pa rin today, Ms. Chanel?
Yes po, saan pa rin po natin ang mga storm surge din po, mga moderate to high risk po sa storm surge, yung mga low-lying exposed coastal localities po natin. Dito sa Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Cagayan, kasama na ang Babuyan Islands, Isabela, Zambales, Aurora, Quezon, kasama na ang Pulilio Islands, Camarines Norte at Camarines Sur.
And also, doon po sa nakikita din po natin outside Philippine Air Responsibility, meron daw po dalawa tayong namamataan na other weather disturbances.
Yes po, meron tayong tropical depression po sa ngayon at isa din pong bagyo na may international name na Manyi.
And ano po yung magiging track nitong, possible track nitong dalawang namamataan natin?
Ito pong si tropical depression na binabantayan po natin. Sa nakikita po natin, papasok din po ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility by Tuesday. At kung sa track po, ito po ay magla-landfall din po possible po dito po sa may northern Luzon.
Papasok ito ng by Tuesday, siyang paalis naman nito ni Typhoon Nika,
yes,
ni Nika. No? Meron po bang possibility na magkaroon ng interaction o wala naman?
sa ngayon po, mababa po yung chance.
Alright, sige, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was weather forecaster from Pag-asa, Chanel Dominguez. Alright, coming up. The House panel investigating Duterte's drug war remains hopeful that the former president will attend the hearings.
And President Bongbong Marcos signed the twin laws that will support the 2016 arbitral ruling. But some fishermen have some reservations about them.
Alamin natin, pag-usapan natin yan. Dalawa yan eh. Archipelagic Sea Lane Act at saka Maritime Zones Act. Alright, sige. We are just getting started mga kapatid. More of our top 10 news when brunch returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning! You're still watching Brunch here on One News. Thank you so much sa ating sponsor for today.
House of Puto Bao.
Yes!
Specialty nila mga kakanin. And hindi ko alam anong official name nitong pinadala, pero ano siya, parang puto bongbong na may, ang tawag doon?
May bukayo sa loob. Masarap ng sauce. Actually,
ube,
yung eating it ngayon, ang
parang
sarap.
may ube sauce siya. Masarap siya. Ganda pa ng packaging.
Matiin ko muna yung ating mga brunchies dito sa YouTube.
Good morning!
Si Leonie Valdesoto, lagi nanonood sa atin. Happy Monday daw. Si DJ Zan Stories, nanonood din siya. Si Elmo Cardenas, watching all the way from Montalban.
Uy, Montalban Rizal. Hello,
yung mga
Elmo.
nasa Facebook, walang hawak na cellphone ngayon si Tito Jeco.
Lobat
Si Juan Miguel Ebron, Mayor
Hi,
Abad,
Migs.
si Jaime Barceliano, si Gary Field, si Ralph Domingo, meron daw siyang no palaman wheat bread and pineapple juice. Okay. Si Sam Pokemon Go, ayan. Alex Fuentes, of course, nanonood sa atin.
Si
VJ, si Ate
Good morning.
Ice. Sino pa ba? Si Mina Benales, lagi nanonood sa atin.
from the
Tita
Jesse Mendez family.
Yes, Tita Daisy, Tito Nito, and Tito Naldi nanonood din sa atin. Alright, sige, let's continue with our countdown. Coming in at our 7th spot, a black SUV ran a red light and rammed a woman crossing the pedestrian lane last week. The victim, who was on her way to work, sustained wounds on her arms and legs. Despite this, the victim agreed to not file a complaint against the SUV driver anymore, on the condition that he will pay for her medical expenses. But in an interview with Senator Raffy Tulfo, featured in his program Wanted sa Radyo, the victim said she was not fully aware of the settlement she agreed to. Taguig Police Chief Joey Goforth said the personnel who handled the matter is now under review.
He's administratively being investigated, and as I have said, we are willing to amend our flaws, and we have actually contacted the victim, and we will facilitate the filing of the case.
Yan, ang naging problem dito kasi yung daddy ng girl went into a settlement with the driver. Nagkaayusan na sila. And sinabi nila sa police na nagkaayusan na sila, the policewoman, yung traffic investigator, had them documented on a piece of paper.
Pinapirma dun sa
pinapirma.
biktima. In fact, yun yung time na yung biktima, medyo tuliro pa siya kasi kakayari lang ng
hindi,
insidente.
pero ang ano dito is the daddy should have, dapat hindi pinirmahan yung settlement.
Hindi nga daw nakita nung daddy pa yung tawag doon, yung video, gusto na lang daw niya kasi ang dahilan ng daddy sa side niya ay gusto na lang daw niya tanggalin doon yung anak niya at madala nga daw sa hospital.
Tapos nakita daw niya, nag-iba daw isip niya. So pero ang nito kasi is ang naging problema ata ng police, the officer did not inform the parties na they can avail of an attorney. You should inform them of their rights, tapos just document the mere, not the settlement, but the mere accident on paper, pa-blotter, para if ever abot sa court, naka-blotter na.
Oo. The personnel will undergo retraining para alam niya yung proseso pagka ganito.
Pero kaya daw kailangan i-blotter is for both parties, not only for the aggrieved party but for the accused party as well. We're not condoning yung mga kaskasero lang, pwede ba? Pero at least man lang kung abot sa court, may proper settlement. Doon na lang sila mag-settle.
Oo, grabe. Kawawa naman yung bata. Ay, yung babae.
Yeah.
Alright, sige, let's continue with our countdown.
Still sizzling at the 6th spot is about the e-wallet fiasco over the weekend. Some users of the e-wallet GCash experienced balance depletion due to unauthorized cash transfers. GCash users took to the social media to report that their account lost some amount of money. In response, GCash said this was caused by an ongoing system reconciliation process. They also insisted that reported incidents, if balance depletion were isolated cases, and all accounts are safe from hackers. GCash said all lost money were now returned to affected customers. Now, to get our insights about this, we have USEC Undersecretary Jeffrey Ian D.
Good morning, Yusek. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning at sa lahat na nakikinig ng branch.
Opo. Ito nga po, syempre, yung unang tanong dyan kasi may mga several digital advocacy group ang nagsasabi dapat daw investigahan ito ng DICT. Itong nangyari na to over the weekend. So, have we already launched an investigation into the latest GCash fiasco?
So we had a series of discussions internally with GCash since yesterday and then this morning. This afternoon, there'll be a team from GCash will be meeting with my team at the National Computer Emergency Response Team. So this investigation is joint. We're doing this together. Sabi ko nga sa kanila, we're appealing na, you know, for transparency purposes and to allay fears, let's have a joint investigation. Para alam din ng taong bayan na hindi, you know, mahirap kasi mag-investiga ka sa sarili mo.
Right.
But they did reiterate that it's not a cybersecurity issue. And that they're only asking that we assist them again for to allay the fears of the public and to ensure that this is not a cybersecurity issue. According to them, it's a reconciliation issue which is internal to their system. And they told me this morning, although that is unverified yet, they told me this morning that the account or yung mga pera na nawala ay naibalik na raw nila.
Yes, Yusek, ano ba implications itong system reconciliation issue, no? Although hindi naman talaga nawala yung pera, binalik daw, but the trauma that caused a lot of people na anxiety. Aside from that, may mga nagsabi that they needed to pay bills at a certain time, tapos nawala yung pera for a certain time, nagkaroon ng mga
late fees, diba?
Fees and a lot of, ang tawag dito, yung add-on cost because of that. So ano po ang magiging implication nito if ever?
So for this particular, yung mga scenario about financial institutions and you usually and we losing money, we would defer that to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas.
Okay.
GCash kasi is regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. And let's face it, this is not the first time this happened to a financial institution. In the past, several banks were also affected by such, let's call them glitches, no?
Okay.
Quote unquote. Pending an investigation, we'll call them glitches for the moment. But yun, it happened, and I'm not really sure kung ano yung magiging action ng BSP Consumer Affairs Group tungkol dyan. But we are writing also to BSP and just to tell them that kasi ang concern ng DICT, kasi under namin yung National Computer Emergency Response Team, ang concern namin is this really a cybersecurity incident or at least an ICT incident that could affect the entire, you know, the integrity of the entire system. So yan naman ang focus ng aming investigation.
Totoo, Yusek, kasi idagdag ko lang because yung mga users, ang sinasabi nila ay alam naman nila hindi sila magkiklik ng mga links na bigay sa kanila. Tapos hindi sila nag-share ng OTP kahit kanino man. But then again, na limas yung mga pera nila. So how can this be ang tawag dito, yung security glitch lang?
Yes. So, number one, we thank the users. No, after a lot of campaigns for the past 1.5 years, nakikinig na sila, wala na, bihira na yung nag-share ng OTP at saka hindi nakiklik ng link. And this is really, really unfortunate. The reason why we want to delve in, just for transparency's sake, the reason why the DICT wants to co-investigate with GCash this particular issue is because several weeks ago, there was this researcher who said they found a weakness in the one-time password verification and authentication system of Google. Now, Google authentication is being used by almost all applications in the world. I'm not sure if GCash is using that, but kaya nga sabi ko maganda mag-joint investigation. But if that weakness is also part of this particular issue, kasi walang OTP nangyari pero nagka-transfer ng pera, then it is important we tell all other people who uses Google authentication that this is no longer theoretical, but that is But again, ano lang ito, I'm just verbalizing what we are thinking at the National Computer Emergency Response Team
Right.
at saka sa DICT. As uulitin ko, as a matter of factly, Globe, in their own investigation, di pa kami kasama, did reiterate it was not a cybersecurity issue. It's a internal system error. Nagkamali sila. Similar to what happened to other banks. Siguro nagkamali yung isang tao ng reconciliation report. Naglipat-lipat yung mga pera. Parang ganun yung nangyari.
Okay.
Kasi yung mga users daw, USEC, tinry nila tawagan yung mga numbers kasi several transactions yung nakita nila sunod-sunod, no? Sa talagang nakakatakot. Pero cannot be reached naman itong mga numbers na to. Even other users would call out yung implementation ng SIM Card Registration Act natin.
Well, yung sa SIM Card Registration Act, baka in this particular case kasi wala pang investigation, might be too premature to call. Pero ang maganda rito, kung may makikita tayong incident nga na cybersecurity related, we can use the SIM card registration to track the SIM cards used. Yun nga lang, in order to do that, we need a case filed na.
Totoo.
Kasi the telcos will not reveal who the owners of the SIM cards are.
Yeah, Yusek, so that we can dispel all the rumors and the gossip that are swirling around on social media, no? In the most basic terms possible, paki-explain po sa mga kababayan natin, what is that system reconciliation process na sinasabi po ng GCash?
Usually banks or financial institutions will have a reconciliation every 24 hours. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga transaction, napupunta muna yan sa isang account before, may actual payout ka, pero yung actual money, napupunta muna yan sa isang account before they disperse it, no?
Okay.
They disperse it, no? And then this reconciliation there is a computer that acts like a ledger. Out, in, out, ganyan. And it's usually computer generated. It's not human aided because it's so voluminous. If it is correct, like I said, ito theoretical sa amin, no?
Yeah.
But let's trust what Gcash said muna.
Okay.
If it is correct that it was a reconciliation error, then that computer made an error. It could be that it malfunctioned one day, or maybe a report did not push through. Nagkapalit-palit sila. And like I said, this is normal in the financial sector. In the past 5 years, we've encountered several banks who had that issue. But usually, they were able to return the money within 24 hours. Yun naman yung importante naman.
Okay.
Kasi kung if it is a simple reconciliation issue, ibig sabihin, alam nila yung previous state at saka yung future state. Diba?
Yeah.
Bago nagkamali. So, madaling ibalik. Ang usually ginagawa nila, ini-stop nila lahat ng transactions and then binabalik nila sa former state.
Yes.
And
yes.
then,
That's right.
and then they pay for whatever they need to pay kasi may mga tao naka-receive ng pera,
Yes.
malamang nagamit din nila yon.
But Yusek, I'd like to ask with regards to that, is this the one similar to that happened way a few months back or last year, yung sa BDO? Yung nagkaroon
Yes,
ng
correct.
massive withdrawals also?
That's correct. BDO,
okay.
this also happened to BPI.
Okay.
Oo. Pero kasi yun nga po yung sinasabi nila, since Diego mentioned banks na rin, sinasabi po nila, e-wallets platforms do not provide the same security as the banks. No? So, sa side po ng mga users, ano yung po pwede nilang gawin for the meantime? And sa side naman po nitong mga e-wallet platforms na to, ano yung mga security pa na po pwede nyo masuggest na gawin nila to prevent this happening?
Ganda nung statement ninyo, no? E-wallet does not provide an equivalent security as physical cards. No? Kasi yung physical card, may smart card yun.
Yeah.
Yung parang chip. So, iba yun. And then it follows a internationally accepted standard.
Right.
Sa e-wallets kasi sa ngayon, to be honest, wala pang
Right.
internationally accepted standard. Pero ang ginagawa nila, kinokopya nila sa credit card. We can't escape this. Everybody's using e-wallets in one form or another. If you are to think of your online banking system application, it's similar to an e-wallet. No? Ang pinagkaiba lang is that it is physically somewhere. Ito kasi sa GCash, it's only online. So, I think BSP has series of regulations there about how to secure e-wallets. Hindi ko lang alam because I've seen some papers who came to my office also from the BSP seeking guidance on the cybersecurity of e-wallets. So what we're trying to tell them is that wala na to sa users. thank you to the users again. Let me
Right.
reiterate. Thank you to the users for following our advice. But this is now for the IT administrators and for the e-wallet operators. I think there is a lesson to be learned. No, we follow the same process that is being followed by the may standard kasi ang ang mga credit cards. So we can follow that, and then yeah, we should bolster our cybersecurity following that particular standard.
Totoo.
Okay.
Alright,
Ang,
sige.
ang tawag sa standard na yun, by the way, is
Ano
PCI
po?
PSS.
Meaning,
It's
haba.
PCI DSS, hindi ko rin alam eh. Parang Payment Card Industry
Yeah,
Data
yeah.
Security Standard. I
Yun.
think that's what it's called now.
Yun.
And this is a private organization. It was jointly developed by Visa, MasterCard. Sila yung nag-develop.
Yan, sana pag-aralan ng mga e-wallet services.
Para
na.
malagyan din yung e-wallet services. Pero we'll get in touch with you again, Yusek, para dun sa update ng investigation niya regarding this. For the
Yes.
meantime,
This afternoon, GCash will be coming here to my office.
sige.
We'll be discussing how
Ayun,
we
may
can,
update
Good.
na. Okay,
we
okay.
can talk about this.
Yes, sige, tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time, Yusek Jeffrey Iandi. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Kaya ngayon siguro sinasabi nila sa mga users kung hindi naman talaga nyo gagamitin ngayon yung e-wallet ninyo, wag na muna daw maglagay ng ng malaking pera.
Actually, ang design naman talaga ng e-wallet was for transitional money. Yung original intent ng isang e-wallet was not really to have a savings account. But then again, may mga features na kasi ang e-wallet where you can put it in the savings account. So kung hindi nyo kailangan, ipasok nyo muna from the wallet to the savings account of that wallet.
Right.
Kasi may counterpart yan Itabi nyo muna. And yung mga e-wallets, they come with cards already. So you can track it through physical terminals also yung amount, yung pera na yun.
Alright, sige, let's continue with our countdown. Moving over now to our top 5, consumers may now be able to buy cheaper rice in markets. The Agriculture Department and retailers agreed to sell rice as low as 43 pesos per kilo. The lower prices of rice should be imposed starting today, November 11. The DA also assured the public of enough rice supply for following the onslaught of tropical cyclones.
Part ng kasunduan, monitoring natin regularly. We are monitoring 30 markets, NCR-wide, every day from Monday to Saturday. So, part ito ng monitoring natin.
Nakakalungkot na how we talk about rice being so expensive per kilo. Kasi yung true value ng rice is way, way lower than that. Pumapatong lang yan dahil yung fuel cost tsaka yung kita ng mga middlemen pumapasok. But if you take a look at yung history of rice sa Philippines, at one point between 1975 and 84, the Philippines, the entire Philippines could feed the entire Southeast Asia. In other words, pwede natin pakainin ng rice. We could supply them and ourselves sufficiently. And tayo po nagturo sa several countries how to plant rice. Although they were all planting rice. In other words, yung tinuro natin was a way of planting that had high yield. Kasi noon yung traditional ways, mababa ang yield ng Vietnam and China. But we taught them how to have high yield. And now
Pero ngayon, nakakalungkot.
And now we're number 1. We're top 3.
Importers
of rice in the world. That is such
Ano yung ginawa, di ba, recently ng DA few months ago under the PBM administration, yung tataasan yung tariff, ang lower tariff ng mga import. Para daw matulungan yung mga consumers na magkaroon ng mababang presyo ng bigas. Pero ngayon, ganun pa rin.
Sipin mo,
Specifically, meron din kasi nangyari yung onslaught ng Christine.
But if you think about it, importing rice is cheaper, importing chicken is cheaper, importing several
mabaha tayo ng import.
Of beef is, di ba, if you go to the grocery, tignan mo, Australian beef, mas mura siya by almost 80 to 100 per kilo.
Which is dapat
Granted,
hindi ganun.
it's not as fresh as when you get here, but if you're a company or a business that uses tons of beef in a month, saan ka bibili? Di ba? Bibili ka na lang sa ibang bansa. Di ba? When I was may mga kinokonsult ako mga chains before, restaurant chains. Yung chicken nila, they import by the ton sa Brazil. Instead of buying in the Philippines sa madaming farm at quality chicken sa Brazil kasi mas mura. Because of the the yield and the middlemen and all the patong.
Kaya kawawa yung mga farmers natin di ba? Sila yung nagpapagod.
Magkano kinikita ng farmer? Kapiranggot lang ang nakikita
especially
nila.
ngayon mababa ang farm gate price.
Farmer.
Oo.
Ay,
tapos itong presyo na to ng bigas na to dapat masustain na kahit papaano kahit Mahal na nga yung 43 pesos eh. Yung ano,
Per
regular well-milled rice, 'di ba? Hindi yung mga pangit na klase ng bigas. Alright, sige, let's move on.
Now, placing at the fourth spot is Cagayan Province. The province is currently experiencing the onslaught of Typhoon Nika. This as they are still reeling from the impact of Typhoon Marce. The southwestern portion of Cagayan is currently under signal number 3, while the rest of the province are under signals number 2 and 1. The Cagayan LGU is currently considering constructing a permanent relocation for those who live in Cagayan's danger zone.
We will have funds para bumili at mag-develop. Kasi ang importante, lote. At mga road network, electricity, water, and then ilapit mo lang sila. Ang importante lang is to get them out from the geohazard areas.
Yun pala.
Yun, lagi naman natin pinag-uusapan yun, di ba?
No.
Tatanggalin. Tapos minsan bumabalik, pinababayaan bumalik kasi wala silang matitirahan.
Yung sabi ni Gov, diba, yung geohazard
Governor
locations, yung mga ibang governors before Governor Mamba, yung mga ibang LGUs, they already had a copy of mga geohazard maps. Yung pala, alam niyo naman pala, hazardous areas yung
Yes, kaya nga di ba merong mga tinatalagang permanent danger zone, mga bawal tirahan.
Ang question dito, bakit si Gov pa ang kailangan mag-isip niyan? Ba't yung mga mayor, hindi nilang i-relocate properly out of these areas? Diba?
Problema nga di ba sinasabi
it took the governor pa mismo to finally put an end to this issue of tinitirikan yung bahay nyo sa hazardous areas.
Ang nangyayari kasi, di ba, alis sila pagka nagkaroon ng peligro. Kapag okay na, summer na, matigas na ulit yung lupa, babalik.
Hindi, tsaka...
Tapos, ang problema, pinababayaan ng LGU.
Tapos tignan mo yung yung data. I think it was 6 years ago, you look at data sa mga voters, no? Pagdating pa ng election, where it be local lang, kahit local lang, makikita mo there's an influx of transfer of registration. In other words, yung mga dating, kunyari, nasa Bulacan, biglang nag-re-register in another area. Diba? So may mga chismis na linilipat lang daw for election purposes. But sana it's not true. I hope not. But we should finally enforce yung geohazard maps, di ba? Kung landslide-prone area, wag na tayo magtayo ng bahay. Compostela Valley, isa pa yan.
Yes.
Paulit-ulit tayo dyan sa Compostela
tuwing
Valley.
babagyo, magkakaroon tayo ng mga biktima ng landslide dahil nga dun sa areas na hindi naman dapat tinatayuan ng bahay.
Oo, sige, sabihin nyo, wala naman tinatayuan ng bahay doon, pero yung mga nakatira doon, yung families of the miners, yung area na nagmimina, ba't di nila mag-provide ng area elsewhere na safer for everyone?
Totoo. Tapos yung iba pa na walang trabaho na, ibig ko sabihin yung umaasa sila doon sa area nila ng kanilang livelihood. So pag nirelocate mo sila, mawawalan sila ng livelihood. Kaya dapat kasama sa relocation para hindi babalik yung mga kababayan natin doon sa titiisin nila yung delikadong lugar kasi nandoon yung livelihood nila, 'di ba? So kapag ni-relocate sila, dapat bigyan na din sila ng possible sustainable na livelihood doon sa area kung saan sila
Although,
nilipatan.
we understand naman mahirap ang magtayo ng business kaagad for them. At least, gawin mo yung ginagawa ng ibang bansa na sa mga relocate like in Florida, when they were relocating yung mga those who have lost their homes to another area, pero their jobs were still in the area kung saan sila nanggaling, mag-provide kayo ng some sort of transportation subsidy or transportation routes.
Yes, para mabilis silang makapunta doon sa lugar nila.
Yeah, the state government of Florida did that. Nagpa-provide ng transport so that uuwi sila sa relocation site and then pag may trabaho, there's a shuttle going back to the area.
Nangyayari kasi yung ibang nare-relocate, bibigyan ng pabahay. O last na to, bibigyan ng pabahay. Tapos yung mga kababayan natin, dahil hindi nga sila sanay doon sa lugar na yun, wala yung pangkabuhayan nila, lilipat sila, paparent nila ngayon yung kanilang binigay na
bahay. Which is bawal.
Which is bawal na bahay mula sa gobyerno. Alright, sige, let's continue with our countdown. On our top 3, President Bongbong Marcos visits Ilocos Norte, which was affected by Typhoon Marce. Here's the report.
Ilocos Norte was among the areas devastated by Tropical Cyclone Marce. Fisherfolk in the area have been left without livelihood after their boats were damaged.
Ngayon, wala na kaming tulugan yung mga anak ko, misis ko. Wala na akong panghanap buhay sa para sa pamilya ko.
Pag lumaking alon talaga, yan ang kinakatakutan namin.
To assess the situation and provide assistance, no less than President Bongbong Marcos has visited the province. He says the seawall along the coastal areas has been a problem.
Matagal na, unang beses ko pa naging governor, problema na yung seawall na yan. Pero nung una naming linagay na seawall, ang layo pa ng dagat. Kaya kailangan talaga tayo mag-adjust.
He vows to start repairs within the next 2 to 3 weeks. The Social Welfare Department, for their part, has distributed cash aid for affected families. The Labor Department has also assisted through their Tupad program. The local governments in Ilocos Norte are now gearing up for the impact of Typhoon Nika.
Hopefully, hindi na makarating yung bagyo rito at malusaw na ng tuluyan.
In Pagudpud, Ilocos Norte, for News 5, I'm Brian Basa, and we are One News.
Isa yung Ilocos Norte talaga sa binayo din ng...
Hindi, ito sunod-sunod ang pagbayo sa Ilocos Norte this last few months. Kawawa naman sila. Especially now, we expect 2 more after itong Nika, di ba? 2 more bagyo.
Sabi nga ng mga kababayan natin, yung mga nandiyan dyan, Northern Luzon, hindi pa nga daw sila nakakahinga. Eto na naman, meron na naman mga bagyo na pumupunta sa lugar nila.
Ay, nako. Anyway, prayers for them and I hope we're prepared this time.
Yes. Yun ang importante.
Remember, may 2 pa tayong minomonitor ang Pag-asa after this Nika. Hopefully...
Lagi natin pinag-uusapan yun. Dapat huwag tayo trigger happy lang
wala
lagi
pa tayo
sa ayuda.
Wala pa tayo
dapat talaga concrete at saka sustainable solutions.
Wala pa tayo December,
Right.
Wala pa. Okay, don't go away. We're not done yet. May 2 pa tayo. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Brunch here on One News. Again, we'd like to thank the House of Puto Bao for this wonderful kakanin that they've sent this morning. Nainggit yung mga viewers nga natin. Masarap siya, House of Puto Bao, ha? You can check it out. And of course, madami pa tayong pag-uusapan today. May 2 pa tayo. So let's get right to it. Going straight to our top 2, the House Quad Committee remains hopeful that former President Rodrigo Duterte will attend their hearings. Panel leader Congressman Dan Fernandez says they will try their best to convince Duterte to face the panel. He added that they are also willing to give the former president the so-called parliamentary courtesy. The Quad Committee has been conducting hearing on alleged extrajudicial killings during Duterte's drug war.
Let's talk more about the House Quadcom's hearing. Diego?
We have with us Congressman Dan Fernandez joining us on the line. Good morning, Congressman. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, Congressman.
Yes, Angela?
Opo.
Yes, correct po. Thank you for joining us, Cong.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning sa inyo. Good morning.
Of course, let's get right to it po. We'd like to ask, ano po ang response from the Duterte camp kung mag-attend ba siya o hindi, Congressman?
Gaatin pa rin po kami kung darating po siya or hindi. Sa mga pronouncement po niya sa social media, siya pupunta. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
We're still expecting po na dumating po siya and hopefully para magkaroon na po ng closure yung ating pong investigation about doon sa EJK.
Yes.
Isa nga po sa mga sinasabing dahilan through the lawyer of former President Rodrigo Duterte, kung bakit hindi sila uma-attend ng inyong hearing ay isa daw po ay doubtful sila sa integridad ng House of Representatives. Ganun din po sa sinabi nila, they're claiming na yung appearance daw po ni former President Rodrigo Duterte ay hindi na necessary doon sa inyong investigasyon dahil umattend naman na daw siya ng Senate. Your thoughts on that? Your reaction on that?
Siyempre, iba naman kasi yung hearing na ginawa doon sa Senado at iba rin yung hearing na ginagawa namin dito sa Kongreso.
Right.
So, I think hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na lahat ng mga binanggit niya doon sa pagsagot siya sa mga tanong na nilatag sa kanya ay yun din po ang mga katanungan na ilalatag sa kanya dito po sa Kongreso. And basically, marami pa pong mga members ang wanted to ask him several questions. And of course, I hope that the former president will adhere to sa kanyang napangako sa atin nung sa sulat niya, sa first letter niya, that through his lawyer, si Delga, na a-attend po siya after ng undas. And yung mga justification naman that he mentioned, sinabi na rin po natin yan na meron siyang 3 justification. And we are willing to inhibit ourselves kung halimbawa na-project na namin yung mga statement niya sa Senado. And I personally told the committee that I will be inhibiting myself if ever that the former president will be present in the next hearing.
Kong, madami po nagtatanong kasi, no, if I don't know if you watched the entire hearing ng Senado, na baka daw pag dating po sa Congress, i-baby nyo rin daw po si President Rodrigo Duterte tulad ng Senado, which also casted a doubt on the integrity sa Senate side. Ano po ang tugon nyo dito, Congressman?
Naiipitin po namin siya.
Hindi po, baka i-baby nyo daw, baka maging magaang daw kayo kay President Duterte tulad ng Senado.
Well, yung gaan or bigat ng pag-treat po sa dating presidente, alam niyo yung respect will always be there.
Yes.
Will always be there. But of course, respect begets respect, di ba? Siyempre, dapat po respetuhin din po tayo na maiwasan po yung mga hindi magagandang mga salita na mabigay pabitawan doon po sa Quadcom. Otherwise, we will be compelled to stop him, from continuing maligning the institution. Hindi na po kami, kundi yung institution na lamang po. And I hope that the president will be mag-refrain sa mga pagsasalita ng hindi tama, because of course kapag nagsalita siya ng mga ganong magaganda, we will be forced to delete that from the record, para nang sa gano'n naman po ay hindi makita ng sa record namin yung mga mabibigat na salita. So basically, expect natin na iba ang magiging takbo ng hearing namin dito compared to the Senate.
Right. Kong, alam nga po natin, na-mention nyo na kanina na hopeful kayo na siya ay a-attend. Pero kung sakasakali po na hindi talaga po siya umattend, ano po ba ang next na hakbang ng House of Representatives? Subpoena, contempt, ano po?
Kasi ako, kung pagtutuunan mo ng pansin yung mga sinabi niya sa Senado, I think that is sufficient that there was indeed a extrajudicial killing, the creation of the DDS and the creation ng mga member noon na hindi mga police, and then identifying mga chief PNP na mga commander ng DDS under oath, medyo mabigat na po yun. If ever na the president will not be present himself dito sa Kongreso, then we have no choice but to siguro it's up to the body what to do, but ako pwede nang i-let go yon. Kumbaga kasi naman in-establish lang po natin yung sa EJK sino ang mga responsable, at doon nga sa pagsasalita niya ng ganon, unang-una na-establish mo na may EJK na kinreate sa Davao. Pangalawa, merong EJK na nangyari sa national, kasi nga yung mga commander ng DDS ay yung mga chief of PNP. Siya mismo ang nagsabi noon. So, siguro, ang gawin na lang po natin dyan, if ever, na hindi dumating ang former president, yung mga chief PNP, you need to ask them as well.
Yes. Kung I'd like to ask, aside from, of course, yung legislation na gagawin nyo after this, meron ba kayong recommendation na binubuo na for possible cases from this, yung mga nasiwalat nyo about these recent EJK reports?
Yes, meron na tayong initial meeting with DOJ. Meron silang liaison officer dito na nakipag-usap sa Quadcom para ma-expedite yung mga ginagawa namin po mga investigation, and to give also all those evidences that we gathered. Kasi yan naman po ang tungkulin natin, yung oversight power, and to help the executive doon sa mga investigation that we are doing. aside from trying to make new laws and amending some existing laws.
Balikan ko lang din po yung ibang mga reports namin na nabanggit daw po ninyo and along with other Quadcom chairpersons na willing daw po kayo mag-shell out ng sarili nyong pera para po mapapunta si former Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, including airfare and accommodation?
Yeah, oo. Kasi naman, kung yun po nagiging problem po yung pamasahe, so we're willing naman to shell out, no. Marami naman kami mga chairman dito and members also who are willing to shoulder yung mga expenses.
Saan po kayang accommodation naiisip nyo? Hindi naman po doon sa Saan pong accommodation nyo po naiisip? Hindi naman po doon sa detention facility ng House of Representatives.
Hindi, meron naman dito yung malapit dito sa Congress, Soler. Maganda doon. So, prepare natin siya ikuha doon. Ilang araw lang naman yan. Baka 2 days lang, 3 days. Okay na yun.
When do we expect ma-wrap up natin po itong hearing na ito, Congressman?
Ako kasi, ako kung tatanungin mo, sana by December matapos na natin to. Magkaroon tayo ng final report about the different yung mga nakalat na ebidensya for the 4 committees and thereby constitute namin ulit ang aming pong last hearing and reporting yung ating pong nakalat ng mga details about the investigation.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Sana po sa susunod, dito naman po sa studio. Thank you so much, Congressman Dan Fernandez.
Salamat po, mabuhay po kayo.
Alright, sige. Diretso na tayo sa top story natin today. Our top story for today are the new maritime laws. President Bongbong Marcos signed the Philippine Maritime Zones Act and the Philippine Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act into law to further strengthen our 2016 arbitral award. However, fishermen in the West Philippine Sea have some reservations about our new laws. Here's a report.
The long-awaited bills operationalizing the 2016 arbitral ruling were finally signed into laws. President Bongbong Marcos signed the Philippine Maritime Zones Act and the Philippine Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. Marcos said the twin laws align with international law, particularly the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. The two acts are also aiming to improve the country's maritime security and economic development. However, the fisher folk group, Alyansang Pamalakaya, has some reservations about the new laws. Pamalakaya National Chairman Fernando Hicap expressed doubts that China will recognize the laws when it comes to the tension in the West Philippine Sea.
Ito yung isang isang foreign natin dyan. Hindi nga kinikilala ng China yung arbitral ruling ng 2016. No? Even yung UNCLOS, sabi nga natin kahit yung UNCLOS na lang kasi bahagi sila doon sa permado ng UNCLOS, hindi nila kinikilala yun, tapos ginamit nilang dahilan at itong pagtutol nila dito sa 2016 arbitral ruling.
Hicap is still worried that China will continue to harass them whenever they fish in the West Philippine Sea.
Ang nakakabahala, in particular sa amin, sa mga mangisda natin Pilipino, pag-intensify lalo ng pangaharas ng China sa ating mga mangisda.
Hicap also revealed that lawmakers never consulted them during the crafting of the twin laws. That's why he thinks the laws are mostly serving the interests of the U.S.
Kasi hindi naman magmamalakas ng loob, lalakas ang loob ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos na magbalangkas ng ganitong batas. Na alam naman, ngayon, sinasabi nila na anticipate na sila na hindi ito kikilalanin ng China. Pero bakit pinatupad pa? Diba? Kung alayunin natin ng pag-resolve ng problema natin dyan sa sa West Philippine Sea, ang namin mapayapa. Ang isang din na papayapa, dapat mag-usap.
But for maritime security expert Chester Cabaza, the new laws can be helpful in forming a code of conduct related to the issue in the West Philippine Sea. He also pushed for the maritime zones and archipelagic sea lanes laws to be internationalized.
We want to internationalize so that the international community will recognize it and perhaps will use it as a legal instrument for international law. Dapat din natin gawin yung proseso, no? Gaya ng mga ginagawa natin sa pag-file ng ECS natin at mga legal instruments para ma-recognize yung mga teritoryo natin.
Di ba yan din yung pinag-uusapan natin over the weekend, yung paano yung implementation nito? Maganda maganda yung
dalawa
layunin
yan, Maritime Zones Act and Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. Yung Archipelagic defines the areas wherein kung saan pwede dumaan ang mga foreign vessels,
at within our bounds
foreign
of our
aircraft
law.
already.
Susundin nila dapat yung
ano yung isa?
Maritime Zones
ano yung Maritime
Act.
Zones
Territorial,
Act?
di ba?
What about territorial?
Territorial natin.
Explain mo.
Ano?
Explain mo.
Diyan natin makikita,
Hindi ko pa nabasa din naman.
No, kasi it solidifies yung ating claim through arbitral ruling. Diba? Na ito, yung territorial natin, ito yung exclusive economic zone natin, na we are also responsible in exploiting and taking care of the reserves there.
Yan. Para sa basic context lang po, kumbaga ginagawa natin ng isang international law into a domestic law. So, dinidikit natin yung law na nangyari based on international law and yung arbitral ruling at inaangkin natin. Oo nga, inaano ko lang, binibasic ko lang sa tao para maintindihan nila. So ngayon, may laban na po tayo. Kunyari may mga, not only China, but other countries as well, na dumadaan sa hindi dapat nila daanan, we're able to charge them with legal remedies.
Oo, and it is also within our rights na explore yung area na yun, especially yung Philippine rice, di ba? Yung Vietnam rice na alam naman natin when a lot of them have already surveyed the area, napaka rich in oil, di ba? Natural gases yung area na yun. So, yun yung...
Geothermal gases, deuterium.
Yes, pero yun nga yung sinasabi ko sa'yo, yung implementation, hindi nga, yung, I can understand yung sinasabi ni Sir sa Pamalakaya, sinasabi niya na papano. Kasi nga, di ba, yung mismong arbitral ruling nga hindi ginagalang ng China. Di ba? Yung pakaya yung sa ating sarili natin. And maglalabas tayo ng mapa natin. Ito ay supported also ng mga allies natin.
I think
of course, itong China ayaw.
Over the weekend, parang I saw already they complained, filed a complaint already in China.
Yes, ayaw na nila. Nag-diplomatic protest na sila. Hindi daw nila ito, nire-recognize. O yan. Meron ka bang quote for today?
Oy, thank you guys pala for joining us today. Happy birthday kay Ate Luz. Sa lahat ng viewers natin, thank you for being loyal to Brunch. Monday pa lang yan. Madami pa tayong issues next week. Also, sa House of Puto Pao. Tama ba? Puto Pao. House of Puto Pao. Maraming salamat sa pinadala nyo. Ayun. And happy birthday kay Luz. Happy birthday kay Luz.
Wala kang quote?
Meron. Saan ba yung quote natin?
Hindi yata naipasa.
Ha? Hindi naipasa. Napasa ko.
Hindi ako nga. Oo, wala daw. House of Puto Bao. Ay, sorry.
Pinasa ko kay Lalaine ito na lang.
House of Puto Bao.
And with that, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote to start your morning. Not a final word, but a quote to start your morning. Okay, the quote goes, if you change the way you look at all things, the things you look at change. A quote by Wayne Dyer.
Tingin-tingin din sa salamin ba?
And that wraps up today's episode of Brunch.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are One News, all sides, all the time. Uy, ang sarap nito, promise.